Alrighty, here is the afternoon edition of this forecast discussion. It's about 2:30 here, and obviously the story is the heat. Doesn't take a genius to figure that one out. High heat levels all across the eastern half of the U.S. Some of you have asked me why there is not a heat advisory for places like the Wiregrass, like southeast Alabama, northern Florida, when the heat levels are essentially the same. And yeah, honestly, I don't know the reason for that other than some of these areas are more frequented with these temperatures. This is also the first time we've hit these heat levels in several spots here across central Alabama since last August. So that could be, some insight as to why there is a heat advisory. Regardless, if you're in it or not, it's hot. The whole state is hot. In fact, it's not just the state. This is a look at the heat index factor right now. So this is a look at basically the composite heat index, and everywhere across the southeast is approaching 100 degrees, if not higher. Even Knoxville, an area, Pigeon Forge, that's in the vicinity of being a little bit elevated, still dealing with those high heat levels. So again, that's a look at the heat index apparent temperature. Here is the actual temperature, which again, I don't think this will go down as the hottest day. Last August, there'll be some spots approaching that value, but it doesn't matter. That's that heat index factor, and obviously that's pushing the envelope here this afternoon. So here's a look at the current heat index. This is off of our sensors here in central Alabama. Tuscaloosa's at 99, Birmingham's at 102, Gadsden's at 100, Dothan's at 106. I lived there for years. There still has not been a hotter environment that I have personally been in than the Wiregrass in the midst of summertime, specifically in July and early August down there. So again, we're not out of the realm of when this happens, but it comes and goes at different times each year. So let's go to the composite radar, because a lot of the story has been this high in the upper levels. Sinking air, okay, that goes against rising motion that you need for convective activity. With that said, I think we'll see an uptick in convection across southern Georgia later today, and perhaps the Carolinas around the edge of this high, around the periphery, if you will, of this high pressure. And that is why they SPCs put us in this slight risk area. But for the time being, we have a couple isolated pop-ups beginning to show. Same as yesterday up near Albertville, near Lake Gunnersville. This will be an area to watch, because once one forms and bottoms out, the air that comes down with it, that cool air from within the thunderstorm itself, when it collapses, that can sometimes go out to form additional thunderstorms. We call that cool air outflow. And that a lot of times will drive future convection throughout the afternoon. So another little shower there near Birmingham. We zoom in on that again, about 2:30 here, and we're seeing just showers up here near Adamsville. This is up I-22 as you head off to the north and west towards Sylvan Springs and to West Jefferson. So we'll watch those. And again, the Albertville shower thunderstorm. Again, this is going to be right over Lake Gunnersville. So again, we had an issue yesterday over South Carolina where 18 or 20 or so people were affected by a lightning strike. You hear thunder, just go inside. These don't last very long, and we don't want to hear of people being impacted in this negative fashion with summertime thunderstorms. So thunderstorms, hop on inside. Down in the Wiregrass, again, this goes to why it feels like 106 in Dothan. Pretty clear out there from Dothan all the way over to Jackson, Alabama, Monroeville, down to Atmore. And then even the Seabreeze thunderstorm has been held in check. You got to go down towards Lynn Haven, just north of Panama City. As you head 231 north through Bay County towards Walton County and Jackson counties. So again, fairly quiet on the radar. The SPC has outlined a slight risk area for basically all of Georgia and the Carolinas. And to give some context, the coverage won't be close to covering the entire state of Georgia, nor will it be close to really impacting all of southeast Alabama. But what does form later today, what does form this evening, think of heat as a fuel source, all right? Do we have a lot of it? Absolutely. High heat levels, plenty for storms to feed off of later on. We just have to break that cap, that stable setup that we currently have in the atmosphere that's preventing basically like a lid. It's keeping the lid on convection. Once that pops, once you get the initial thunderstorm development, then you'll see, I think, more thunderstorms with the capability of producing gusty winds and perhaps some hail. Again, this will not be widespread coverage, and a lot of folks that are in the slight risk area will stay completely dry today. This is just one of those setups where there's enough energy in place. Anything that forms can tower 40,000 plus feet in some spots and then bottom out. You get downbursts, microbursts, and that'll be what we have to watch for here. So again, this upper high is going to be fading. It'll be losing its influence. Keep an eye on the Florida Peninsula here. You can see a different circulation. That's an upper level low. Completely different circulation. You have lower atmospheric heights. Remember, low pressure is exerting less pressure on the surface. If there's less pressure on the surface, there's more motion vertically. Makes sense, right? High pressure, it pushes down on the surface. Low pressure, aloft, allows rising air, rising motion, and that promotion of rising air really helps build convective activity, and I think we will see plenty of that as we head late weekend into the weekend. This would be more of our typical summertime setup here. You can see that upper low centered over South Georgia by Saturday afternoon. Again, it will not necessarily matter where this is. The southeast in its entirety will be under the influence of this, and I think that will yield better rain coverage, and with the better rain coverage will come lower afternoon high temperatures. Still summer-like, still hot, still humid, just not to the same level as what we're dealing with right now. So a break from the heat, but we go back to those increased or elevated rain chances. Speaking of, let's go to the NDFD, and what this is looking at here is 12-hour increments of rain coverage. Okay, so this is Thursday from basically, I believe this is 8 in the morning to 8 at night, 7 to 7, something like that. In any case, showing the highest coverage for Thursday in southeast Alabama and the lowest in northwest Alabama. Makes sense. We're going to see most of the convection fire to the east of here and drift in our direction. But this marks the day where we'll start to see better rain coverage through much of the southeast. So let's go to the HRRR. This is Thursday at about 12 o'clock. You know what? I'm going to back this up actually to begin this afternoon. And we're going to put this at, let's put it at about 5 o'clock. All right. So we are currently at, as I started this at about 2:30. So let's drive this forward here a couple hours. So again, look to south central Georgia for the initial firing off of convection. And then as we head into the evening, some of this might hold together and eventually move into to Alabama. I don't think a ton of it will, but look towards the Wiregrass, southeast Alabama. That's where you might see some of this convection that's developing south of Macon along that I-75 corridor roll in during the early morning hours. Again, once we lose daytime heating, it's tough to hold these together, but there's so much untapped energy aloft. Some of these storms may be able to push through that. All right, this is now Thursday morning at 7 o'clock, and we'll push this forward to Thursday afternoon again. Kind of going off of what the NDFD showed you, or that I just showed. It kind of depicts this area as the highest, rain probability. So, we back this up, even going to the early morning hours, that kind of lines up with this model. Again, models are not the answer key, but it does show the remnant energy from storms that fire off this evening and overnight, perhaps being the jumping off point of convection tomorrow. All right, let's go through the afternoon on Thursday. And now you're starting to see more of the rain, those thunderstorms up in the shoals, northern Alabama. And again, once we start seeing convection, once these start to pop up, they can generally fuel additional thunderstorms. Cool air outflow from one develops another, then another. We saw it this past weekend. You just need to get those initial thunderstorms, and then the rest can kind of meander, speak for itself, and continue to develop. And so I think Thursday evening will be decent coverage, and that really goes for the whole state. It will not rain everywhere, but it'll be probably our best coverage in quite some time here. So with that in mind, our highs on Thursday will still have the potential to reach the mid-90s and some heat index factors near triple digits. I don't know that it'll be heat index criteria, given the better cloud cover, given the potential for early morning rain, especially in South Alabama. We'll have to wait and see, but the highest heat index factors I've seen, it really puts it up near right around 100 degrees. Still hot. Heat index criteria, you're talking 105 plus, so I don't know that there will be one issued. And then Friday's temperatures, they're coming back down to earth. 90, 89, 94. that range is what I expect more of here as we move ahead. And if we look way, way, way down the road, here's the CPC outlook through, July 9th, and this is the 8 to 14 day. And basically, this is looking at patterns. Do we have a high set up? Do we have a ridge across the southeast? And it certainly looks like that's a possibility. It's not a strong indicator because those probabilities are in that 33 to 55% range across much of the South, but it's enough to show that, hey, maybe we could be a bit above average. Again, I would lean towards this is pretty close to average. You might see some mid 90s mixed in there. And most importantly, daily rain chances will have a big impact, big influence on this. And speaking of 7-day rain, as I've said many times, it is almost impossible to depict rain totals in the summertime. Just impossible because you've got these convective thunderstorms. It'll drop an inch of rain in one spot and not affect another in the slightest. But what this map tells me is that the entire state is susceptible to seeing decent rain coverage over the next 3, 5, 7 days. And the best coverage will probably be down in the Wiregrass because you have the daily influence of the sea breeze front. Speaking of, beach forecast here. I'm going to need to update these temperatures. Water temperatures are pushing upper 80s in several spots right along the coast. So we will see daily thunderstorm chances. It will not rain all day at any point, but something that we'll have to watch for as we get later into the season is those increasing temperatures down at the beach. So as always, be safe, enjoy, and again, when thunder roars, just go inside. They don't last long. I hated hearing what happened at that lake in South Carolina yesterday, with all those people, including 12 children, I believe, hospitalized. So when thunder roars, just go indoors. Again, these thunderstorms come and go quickly. We want you to be here to stay. So just some words of advice here. I grab my kids and we run inside as fast as we can if we hear thunder. They don't understand it, but I say, too bad. We'll come back outside when it's done. So be safe. Have a great afternoon. Stay cool if you can. Lower heat levels for the end of the week. See y'all.